You need to win to build a legacy. Chris Paul's trying to find that, and I feel bad for the guy because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, Steph Curry is a better point." Let's be honest. Chris Paul is the best point guard of our era. It's our generation, but he'll never be considered that until he wins that title, and that is the problem. And I think Chris Paul is one of the most talented point guards I've ever seen. So, but he'll never be considered that until he wins a championship. Until that happens, they're always going to talk about Steph. They're not going to be talking about Chris.
I think there's good parallels because how many players are thought of lesser now because they happen to be in their primes, against Michael Jordan. And I think that like this, you think about it from 2011 to 2018, it was either LeBron or those Warriors teams you had to go through in the finals. One side in both in many cases. And so that's a lot of oxygen that is taken up by, guys can be great players, but just saying, hey, Steph better. That's a meme in the Warriors. Okay, the guy's not as good as Steph Curry. That's not okay. What are we talking about here? Right. You can pretty easily be a top 50 player of all time, and like Steph Curry was better than you. Now, if the point you want to make is, did James Harden do everything possible to make up that gap based on some of that off-floor stuff? That's arguable. Like you can, like if that's the point you want to make, like I'll yeah, sure. It's easy to forget that. Oh, that Charles Barkley never. Yes, Charles Barkley was his prime was against Michael Jordan and the best 2 years of Hakeem Olajuwon's career. You get a mulligan for that? No, but you have to take it into consideration. I mean, obviously, you guys are New Yorkers. Like, how different do we think of Patrick Ewing if those Jordan Bulls aren't there? It's and that's, I don't think, I don't know. I think we hold it against guys too much, but for misfortune in their era.
You bring that up, and I'll say it again. I think '90s basketball is better than this new age of basketball. I think the basketball now it's ruined. I think the three-pointer, and Steph Curry and everybody, all these big men shooting threes. I think it's ruined the game. I really do. You can't put a finger on a player before they go to the free throw line. I remember the game. I love the enemies. I love the Chicago Bulls, the bad news Detroit Pistons and the Showtime Lakers and even the Lakers of the 90s and all that other stuff in the Orlando Magic. Everybody hated each other. Everybody. Now all of them want to play together. They want to be son-in-laws, brother-in-laws, godfathers. I mean, the game is ridiculous. I mean, you want these guys to hate each other. You want the game to be fun to watch. Like hockey, like football. Some of these teams hate each other, So I just think the game has become more a love fest, more than the game of basketball, what we loved in the 90s, where, this team hated this team, or this team couldn't wait till they played this team in the playoffs.
You get a lot of that as a playoff series goes on. This is a hard comparison because we do this thing where we see a Game 7 on ESPN Classic from 1994 or something like that, and we compare that to Cleveland playing in Charlotte on a Wednesday in February.
Right.
And it's not exactly a fair comparison. It's like, yeah, they're playing harder in the one game because of the situation. There probably is something to the players being friendlier just in general because there's more player movement, and a lot of players have kind of run into each other since they were 14, 15, 16. So I don't think that means you can't compete to the max against these guys. I don't think you can watch these playoff series and say these guys aren't going all out against each other. You can't watch these playoff series and see that they're not getting testy with each other over the course of the series. Like it starts, big hug, big handshake, game 1. By game 6, they're hip checking and hip tossing each other on the free throw line because there's just been so many little nasty jabs and pokes and stuff like that. So I hear that criticism a lot, and I understand where people are coming from. I think there's a little bit of misremembering of what a Wednesday night game looked like a Wednesday night in February game looked like in 1994.
Right.
Because those are we've forgotten those because they're forgettable. Because it's. And that may be a problem as much with the 82 game season being too many. There and everyone having realized it more fully now. Like teams operate that way, players operate that way. The announcers sometimes like, yeah, this game was whatever. which probably isn't good, but that's a whole other discussion because everyone's being judged on how they do in the playoffs. So we get to the playoffs healthy is almost more important than, can we get 57 instead of 55 wins?
Before we let you go, because I know we're keeping you on a long time, and we really appreciate you joining us and giving us the time. I know you're hanging out with your family, getting ready for the NBA. What are they preseason over there or whatever?
Summer League.
Summer League.
Yeah,
Summer League.
Getting our first look at the guys who were just drafted.
I'm sure you're excited about that. You get to see some of your buddies and you get to see some of the young players playing in the games. Even though I'm doing a favor for a guy that I can't stand tonight, he wants you to tell the fans what you thought about the Celtics and the Brogdon move. What did you like that move, and what did you like about that move?
So what I liked about that move is Boston got a player when healthy who is a very good offensive player, very versatile offensive player who can fit in a number of roles. They did that giving up basically nothing from their playing rotation. So that's the good part. The downside is he part of the reason why he was available at a relatively low exchange was he's been hurt a ton the last couple of years. He makes the low 20s and plays 50 games, and that's not a great mix. So that's a worry. I was frankly surprised that they had to include a first rounder to get it done. It's been like Brogdon has been available from Indiana since the trade deadline. And it was a nice job by Indiana to, without, I don't think, much leverage in the situation, get a first round pick out of it instead of, I kind of thought that 2 seconds or something like that would get it done. But at the same time, when you're in the situation where the Celtics are and likely will continue to be over the next number of years, the 28th pick in the draft is a little bit whatever. So it is a good, low cost, medium high upside gamble for a team that frankly was one guy short, I think, in the finals. They needed one more creator, one more shooter, one more ball handler, and healthy Malcolm Brogdon can do all those things.
Interesting. It's very interesting. Well, we really appreciate you, man, and giving us all that time, and we definitely would love to get you on again, as always. We really loved your take, and by the way, we definitely got to read your book. Maybe where can the fans find your book?
So it's available wherever books are sold online. The paperback is going to come out right around the start of next season. It's available on audiobook from Spotify and all the places where you get your audiobooks. It's hard. It's been so long since it came out. It came out like 9 months ago, so I'm rusty in terms of pitching it. But it's the normal online places where I would recommend if people want to get it through bookshop.org. Support your local bookseller. So check it out there.
I just want to ask. I was on one more quick thing before you go. I forgot. Anchorage Man, that nickname. How did you get that?
I'm originally from Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, but so it's sort of something I picked up when I got hired by the Bucks. The local paper did a story. Anchorage Man turns hobby into career, and I heard because my wife actually worked for the newspaper at the time. I heard that the editor of the paper was furious at that headline because we look like the damn Onion, so I kind of just adopted that as
just so you know, I'm listening to Jeff. I'm buying the book. Hates Brunson move, loved Brogdon move. He didn't say he didn't say he hated the Brunson move, and he didn't say he loved the Brogdon move. All he said is that Brogdon, when healthy, is a good offensive piece. So I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Now you're taking words out of his mouth because that's what Jeff does. That's what he does. Because it's a Celtic and it's a Boston team. This guy's got his fingers so far up as what, he'd be spitting it out of his mouth.
Is this the part where you disinvite me from coming back on it when I say I grew up a Boston sports fan? Because my dad is from Framingham.
Now he really loves you. Now he really.
Well, we officially found Jeff's favorite guest of all time.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan anymore. You work in sports. Your fandom gets dead very fast.
It's crazy because doing radio for 9 years now, I would say the same. I'm a New York fan for my teams, but slowly but surely, I'm like, everybody thinks that I talk nothing but bad most of the time. Now, I get excited when I like the moves for some of the teams do, and then when they fall apart, these guys, they hand me over. Oh, you said this. That's what sports radio is all about, boys. You make your assumptions during the show. It's not always right, but when I'm wrong, these guys nitpick it and attack it, and and it's hilarious. But I guess that's what radio is. I don't think they get it, but I got it. You got it. We all got it. But thank you, man. We really appreciate you. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Just at Seth Partnow on Twitter. On the road trip, I've been a little dark, but I'll be tweeting some things I see from Summer League. And I can say that coming out next week is the often eagerly anticipated player tier. As some of your listeners, if they are New Yorkers, might know, got me in some hot water last year for not including one Rowan Barrett Jr. in the top 125 players in the league last year. Will he make it this year? You'll have to check it out.
Interesting. I think RJ had a really good year this year, and I think he's up and coming. We'll see what his transition this year. 20 points this year. He went every year since he's been in the league. He's gotten better. I want to see 24, 25 this year. If I could see that, then we're cooking on something. So
I want if I were you, I'd want to see 8 free throws a game. If he's shooting 8 free throws a night, he's made some of the changes to his game that he needed to become the player that the Knicks fans want to see.
Very interesting. We really appreciate you, Seth.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoyed this.